Righty here, so I think what I'm going to do is now is try and see if I can make a die to make, or at least attempt to make this. And I think for a start off we'll just see if we can form the basic shape without the hole in it, and then we can go from there, I guess. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do the hole, but it doesn't really matter. This has got a nice cut edge on it, and it's fairly square. I think what I'm going to do is going to cut a couple of strips off this, probably one down there, so it's got the nice natural clean edge. And also cut a piece that's this wide because that fits in there. I'm probably going to try and use, this might be a bit bloody thick to be honest, but I'll test it with this anyway. Something a little bit lighter might be better, but I'll test it with this. And basically make a piece going here that I can drill a couple of holes in and then weld it to this so I can press it down, and also the strips are cut off there, I'll put it around the outside of it. You know what I mean? I'll cut this in half, put one piece down there, and then a couple of little bits that come off here I'll better use as fillers, and hopefully the centre piece that I'll weld to the other block, and we'll just weld it all around the outside and probably across the edges, and then I'll grind it flat, or I could probably use the mill just to make sure it is dead flat. So yeah, that's kind of a first attempt. It was either that or I thought about maybe cutting a couple of hunks off this, because it's probably about the right depth. That was my other thought. This could be a little bit thick. So yeah, I'm just not 100% sure, but we can just play with it, see how it goes. It's not going to be the easiest thing to make, but if I can get a reasonable result, at least then I can make 4, and as long as they're all the same, that's better than nothing. Righty, hopefully you can kind of see down there, you can. I know you can't see my face, but so I'm just cleaning up these bits and pieces. I'm about to run that along the belt centre too, just to smooth that edge up. That's the it's been a machine cut edge. That was the natural edge, which I just gave it a quick polish up on the belt sander. I'm going to do the same with this all the way around, and then just round the corners off, just so it's clean. And it's pretty close to being parallel, and I'll keep double checking it. I don't want it too much smaller than this. If we can avoid it, you know, like it's got to be close. As long as it's really, really close. I'll just clean that up. That'll be in here. I'm going to cut another piece, so that'll fit in there in the top die, and just leave it. It's just going to be, I don't know, whatever the thickness of the panel steel was, gap. So hopefully when we force that down there, it forms a nice, clean, square thing, a bit like that, and we'll go from there, I guess. So yeah, we just need a little bit of gap all the way around. A couple of milled sort of type thing tops. And I'll clamp. Well, I'll probably drill holes in all these, at least 2 in these long pieces, 1 in those. Plug. I'll probably just tack it for a start off. Some good tacks. Have a wee test. See if it's going to work or whether I need to adjust anything. And then when I'm happy, then I'll burn the plug welds in and do a fairly good weld around there, and hopefully it still stays flat. If I don't go too aggressive, as long as I give it some good welds, even if I do, I don't know, 4 or 5 good hot welds in there and a couple in the corners, and just so it can't move, and maybe the plugs, and hopefully this doesn't distort more. And then clean this up, obviously, and plug weld that to this. Once I give that a clean up, and that should be more than good enough to create that, I'm hoping. It pushes down there. I'd like a bigger piece, but it's kind of what we've got here to at least have a go. So I'll cut another piece for that end and give these all a bit more of a clean up, and then I think we'll at least tack weld it together and try it and see how we get on. Whether I get it all done tonight, I don't know, but we'll try it. I'll come back there when I got a bit more done. Rightio, so I'm almost done here. I've got holes drilled in. I've got some fairly large ones, obviously one in the middle as well. But I think what I'll do is I'll weld them on tomorrow. Or I'll do it now. Actually, no, I might do it now and then just let it cool. And then, yeah, I can clean it up in the morning clean the weld off it, get it nice and flat, and yeah, then we can do a test piece and see if it's going to work. So I'll try to get this sort of reasonably in the middle where it's going to be trying to squash it. So whatever displays out the side doesn't really matter because it'll get cut off. But once we have a bit of a workout, we might better, hopefully we might better get it close so whatever's left doesn't need much trimmed off, if you know what I mean. But we'll see how we get on. But I think we're getting there. What should be on there? It should be on there. Man, I love the helmet. It's so good, that thing. So good. Alright, I think I'll just let that cool, and yeah, we'll start again tomorrow and we'll see if we can make a one of these bits. Well, the start of one anyway. Start of one. At least if it'll make that shape, and then we can work on maybe the punch through after that. Maybe. Don't really know, but I'll get there. Something like that. Alrighty. So, I think in today's video, because I think still in the midst of editing the footage from the last couple of days, so which I was finished yesterday, if that was the end of the video, of starting to make this here, which is hopefully the starts of a die to make parts of the door handle surrounds, because the inner piece will be easy to make. It's the decorative bits that are going to be a bit more interesting. So I've started doing that. So I'm going to clean that up and have a wee test run. But one of the things we need to get done too, along with the nickel plating stuff, because this is part of the nickel plating, is I need to get this fuel tank sorted, at least holes cut in it, ends finished off in bits and pieces, and get it semi-assembled so we can take it to the guy that does the radiators and fuel tanks here, like does a lot of old school stuff, so he can solder all the bits on it to I guess to seal it up, if you know what I mean, the way it would have been done. So I'll turn the camera on. So basically what needs to happen is I've got to go through and at least mark out where all the holes are in it, like for all the bits, so at least get that all corresponded over onto it. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that, but we'll work it out. So we get all these pieces, like these brackets, the hole for these sender pickup bits and pieces, and all that sort of stuff, plus the filler neck for down there, and also got to get the edges tipped over on these. That's why we bought some of these old gear. We're hoping that maybe at least one of these we can make to use to tip over the edge. These here I'm going to try and not bring one over. Well, not if, hold on, we'll go grab that. They probably don't really need it, but the original ones have got these webs in them, I suppose, or bead rolls in them. Whether they need the whole 3, probably not really critical, because they're pretty solid anyway, but I'll at least put maybe even the centre ring in there, or the outer ring, just to help stiffen it up. I'm not really sure what the holes are in here, because it's only in one, so it's just to help pass fuel through it, I guess. But we could have used these in the new tank, but you're putting rusty steel in a fresh steel, so we just decided to go with all new parts just to make it easy. So I want to try and at least do a bead roll on that, and see if we can make that do what we want. But I'm a bit worried about it only having the not having an outside piece on there. We'll see how it goes, because this is all the stuff that we picked up there a wee while ago. We might have to get some dies made, or get some newer ones or something, and see if they will fit, but to do other stuff. But I want to try and do that and tip the edge up on this like this, but also I want to see if I can put a bit of a crown on them too. So figure out whatever radius that is, and basically just sit like one of these wheels in it and see what radius is, because that's obviously way too much. So one of the flatter ones will be fine. Just put a gentle crown on the end and run it backwards and forwards through a few times, and try and put a crown in there without making it too ugly, because I don't have a planishing hammer. So yeah, at least get a nice gentle crown in there without going excessive crazy. So that's some of the stuff I want to start doing today, so we can get this away to be put together, because there's a bit of a weight on that too. So the sooner we can get it in, the sooner it can be done, if you know what I mean. But I want to at least have a clean up on this, get this ground down, and at least have one test go with this to see whether this is going to work, and then we can work out afterwards, once I've played with the fuel tank, which probably won't be today, after I've had the first initial push, but to test it. But then we'll have to work out how to put a window in it. Righty, well, hopefully this works. We can only find out. So I've cut this down reasonably small, but not, I don't know, it's probably not small enough, I don't know. I've tried to allow a little bit for pushing in there, and then bending over again. I don't really know. This might be just too much for it, I don't know. But I've marked where the thing needs to be. I probably would have to put maybe a couple of pins in it so it heads the right direction, if you know what I mean. But I've marked the plate with the marker pen, so I can kind of line this up so it's close, at least for a start off, for test play. Be safe, it's really hard. Alright, we'll go get it. We'll take it back to the bench and we'll see how we got on. Sorry if the camera moving there, but it's in there. Been kind of successful. My line-up skills weren't too bad. I've only got to make 4 in the end of the day, so if we screw a couple up as we're going, well, it's not critical. Stop spinning there. Right, let's have a look here. Let's see what we ended up with. See what we ended up with. See if we get this out. See whether it's half reasonable or complete garbage. Oh yes, I split it. But we're corner in the ballpark. Yeah, corner in the ballpark. Get it out of there. Without destroying it. Half maybe a bit less material, maybe, you know, just a bit less material, but for a first attempt I don't think that's too bad. I don't think that's too bad for a first attempt. Yeah, we're kind of, I know this is slightly bigger, but I'm not worried about that, you know, I'll just make 4, doesn't matter much. But, I think that's a pretty reasonable result for a first hit, you know, to see where we were heading. I think that's pretty reasonable. So maybe, yeah, I don't know, maybe a little bit less material and it might collapse in. I don't know. But we've got plenty of, I would have thought there was enough, you know, enough slop in there for it to push in there nicely. But I'm kind of happy with that first result, if you know what I mean. It's a matter of just playing with it to see, to get it together in. Like if you're cunning, I think maybe I might do another wee test sample. If I can find another piece that I can cut up to fit, but maybe have it so it's not a lot of material, like enough to push down there and come up, but not much more, and maybe have it so it's just enough out here and then cut it off on the angle, so it's not trying to fight the material to gather it in. Maybe, I don't know, but I think it's not a bad first result. It's not a bad first result, I think. Now we can only play with it from there and see what happens. But yeah, I'm fairly happy with that. Look, it's plenty deep enough, you know, as we, you know, trim the rest off, and so it's plenty enough to tap that edge over when it needs to be rolled over on the back edge and whatever. So I think that's we'll call that what we call it, a success, but not. Learning. Right, I'm about to do a quick number try number 2. So I've cut it a bit closer to the shape, obviously. I've cut the corners off, so there's not so much material obviously to gather in. And also, I just put it in the sheet metal brake and just tweaked the edges, maybe just to help it start. So it will fold these pieces up easier, hopefully, and gather it in. And hopefully it doesn't break away like this. We can only try. I'm hoping a little bit less material to try and pull round will help the situation. Like I can probably cut this back a little bit further if I need to. But yeah, just a matter of trying it, I guess. So we'll go give it another wee try and just see if it's any better. I'll just do it and I'll come back to you. We'll see what the result is. Righty, so another fail, but another success. We actually managed to get that end to close in, so we actually need less material around it again. And I think we'll get it. Like I really do think we'll get it. It's close, you know what I mean? That is very close. Maybe a bit less material in here and a bit more at the corners and stuff. Just so it's got less, again, to gather in. Because where it's had less around here, it's gathered in quite easy. But where it's had a bit extra down here, it hasn't been quite successful. So another fail, but another step in the right direction. So I think I'm going to have one more play and see if I can get one. See if we can get one to work. Or just to cut it down smaller. So obviously don't need bugger all material extra. Like maybe half of what I had sticking out, if you know what I mean. Possibly. We'll see. I'll have another week. We'll cut another bit up and see how we get on. Right, we've got way less material this time compared with what we had even the time before. So I just basically sat that on there, drew around it, and then just cut it off quite slim. And hopefully, yeah, we have a cleaner result. We can only improve. We might have to, you know, take this edge back a little bit further or something like that, just so it doesn't cut it off. But we can only try. Right, let's have a look at this time. Okay. So I need to re-weld that on. But, damn it. It's a little bit tight. It looks like it's gathered it up pretty well. Damn it. Damn it. Right, so I got it out. I just welded that to that and pulled it out. This was a wee bit of fight to get it out because I actually pushed it in quite fairly hard and down into the bottom. I probably couldn't, shouldn't have. But I think I know what the problem was because it cut that edge off again. But I think it's this edge here I think it's a bit sharp. So I'm just trying to see if I can take the edge off. I thought I'd clean that edge off, but maybe I hadn't. So I might just file these edges off a bit. Take a look, you know, so it's, when it goes over, it's not trying to cut itself off. And then we can obviously rework that at some point. I'm not going to do it now because I'm going to start playing with that fuel tank. But at least we've figured out that we can do it. We know hopefully what the issue is. Because I think that's what it's doing. It's cutting as it's getting close, you know. It's just cutting it off because these edges are sharp. So, It seems to be cutting this one edge off more than the others, and it does feel the sharpest, if you know what I mean. That one's not quite so bad. That one's got quite an edge on it. So I actually thought I broke those edges, but obviously it might have been the other edge I broke. But yeah, the other side of it before I welded it on. But we're getting there. You know, it's going to take a few fails before we get it dialed, but I think we'll get it dialed, and then it's just a matter of working out how to get the bloody window on the thing, you know, and then we can, you know, get this stuff nickeled too, you know, once I've got it perfected. How I'm going to do that I'm not quite sure, but not quite sure yet. We'll work it out. Oh, I've got this fixed now, I think. So basically, I drilled this through until it was almost 1/2 inch right through. And then I opened this up to about 3/4, almost all the way through, except for the last little bit, if you know what I mean. So it wasn't broken right through, because otherwise it'd be too big. But basically, I just wound it up fairly hot and not too fast a wire speed, so I could get down in there and I could really burn it in quite hot. Hopefully it's got a decent grip, but I'm going to let that cool, because it'll be as hot as piss now. And then when I got a bit further up, I wound it up a bit more and actually turned the wire speed up to fill the holes a bit more. So yeah, hopefully it's taken hold. I didn't drill through the hole, because this is actually, I forgot that this piece is actually hard, like it's hardened steel, because this is one of the first pieces that I was going to try and use for that, making those clamps for the back, yeah, and it was hard steel, so I could have tempered it, but you know what I mean, like it was hardened steel, so it was a frickin' took a bit to drill through. I'm going to have to repair the damage on the drill bit, basically, because the drill was probably going just a bit quick. So yeah, but anyway, that's that sorted, hopefully, and it doesn't break off again. Righty guys, so I just had a wee play with that old V-roller, just to run through to see what it would do. So I think that'll be okay to put a couple of rounds in those pieces. So I need to roughly find the centre of them and then do that. Hopefully it doesn't gather it in too much. That is a slight concern. But I could always flatten those pieces back off and then just re-bend them, if you know what I mean. So a little further out if I need to, if it does happen to take up. I might just put a couple of rounds in them. I think that'll be plenty. And then I need to work out which one of those is going to do a half decent tip for the edge. See if one of those is going to work for that. I'll have to, might just make up a bending stick that's the right depth for what I need to fold over for the end caps, and then yeah, and then start laying out all the holes, because the rest of it's pretty much up to the other guy. I guess need to talk to him whether he wants to do the riveting, because I don't know whether he wants to put the solder on there and then rivet them, or rivet them then solder it, or I don't really know what the process would be for that, which way you would do it first, to be honest. Not really 100% sure. You may want to layer them up, the pieces up with some solder, and then stick them on and then rivet it, and then, you know, it's re-sweat it, if you know what I mean. I don't know. So yeah, but we can soon lay all those pieces out, and we can use the seam as a reference, obviously, and yeah, we can just start measuring it and doing end-to-end measurements and all that sort of stuff, because they are exactly the same height. So yeah, it's just a matter of measuring back from the seam each way and all that sort of stuff. So be a little bit mucking around. Actually, a big, nice big piece of drawing paper or something like that, or something, so you can like lay around it from seam to seam, tape it on there, and you could actually mark all the holes on the inside, and then, you know, maybe cut the holes out and lay it back over top. But yeah, we'll work it out. We'll work it out. Righty, so a really simple way to draw a couple of circles. This is actually, I actually use this to do, I think the inner and outer radius was making those bows. So this has already had a centre punch in it, which makes it really easy. And all I did was basically had a quick measure in here. It's about 7mm. Found a 7mm drill bit. Put it in there. And yeah, well, as long as it clears over there, but you know what I mean. Push it through a bit further. I could probably shorten it up if I have to. I might shorten it up. I'll just cut this off so it's not interfering. Doesn't matter, I can make another one if I need to at some point. Right. That's not interfering. And I'm gonna make all 3 rounds and see what happens. Simple. So that one marked. I'll just do this one while I'm here. Well, you don't need a set of dividers or whatever, you know. As long as you're not having to be terribly accurate with something like this, you know. It's only for a bit of strength. Alright, poke around the next hole. You can't get much simpler than that, really, you know, if you haven't got a set of dividers or whatever handy. Nail, bit of stick and a drill and a marker ship, texture, whatever you want to frickin' call it, depending on which part of the world you're in. Vivid, Sharpie. I know it's texture or in Australia, and we pretty much call them Vivids here because that's the main brand. I'm pretty sure they call them Sharpies or markers in the States, depending on where you are in Canada. So yeah, it's all those things marked. I might actually, after lunch, I might get Rachel down here so she can, and I'll set that up in a slightly better position somewhere. And I'll get her to wind the handle as I do the bead roll. And I probably marked it on the wrong side. But it doesn't matter. Actually, it won't matter. Won't matter which side I frickin' do it on anyway. Is it on the wrong side? Yeah, it is on the wrong side. Yeah, because that's the side the wheel will be running on. But, yeah. It wouldn't matter if it went the other way anyway. I don't think it would matter much at all. I'd still do it the other way. But yeah, I can just roll that around there as Rachel winds the handle. Sort of a two-person job to get a fairly nice result. Then I can just get her to go gently, quietly, and I can just try and keep it within that circle. So yeah, we might do that after lunch. So the next thing I want to do is get these and put a little bit of shape in them, try and match that curve, you know what I mean? And then I will I might sit the main part of the tank on them first, get it reasonably centered, mark around it, and then when I roll it in the wheel, I'll better just see whether it's stretching or shrinking. You know what I mean? And hopefully we don't end up with something too small, because I have allowed a bit, but yeah, we'll see if it's pulling in or stretching out. So we'll do that. Because I have allowed us a reasonable amount on there, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's definitely not a lot. That looks fairly evenish. It's only a guide. At least then we can see if it's pulling in or pulling out or whatever it's doing, you know. If we end up with a little more on there, well, it's not going to be a it probably won't be a bad thing, as long as it's not excessive, if you know what I mean. We've got to try and get it over and get it at least crimped on there. So that's that one. So you have a lot to play with. Obviously the tank's not sitting there dead round either, but you can't get the point. It's just it's mainly just a guide, so we can see what's happening. Because I haven't done a lot of English wheel work, so I'm still learning. So the more information you can give yourself, the easier things become. You know, I'd rather physically see if it grows, but this will at least give me an idea of how much it's growing or shrinking. So next thing we'll do, so I'll drag the English wheel out of there. I mean, this thing's, man, I love this little thing. I think I need to adjust it a little bit and possibly clean up the blade, but man, it's so good for frickin' cutting up those little pieces when you know. I might drag this over here. So, we've got the tightest one there at the moment, and I know that's way too much. That's way too much. And for all I've learnt, you know, you get something, whatever's the closest to what you need. Even that's probably too much. So basically, it's going to be not the flat one, but the next one up. So it doesn't need much at all. That's pretty much it. So it's the flattest one we've got. Well, the flattest curve we've got without going totally flat. And it sits in there quite nicely. That's about as good as we're going to get. It's probably slightly flatter than that again, but that'll do, you know. So get on there. I'll grab a bit of brake clean. We'll give this a clean down. I'll give it a little lube. Is that right, Mr. Brake? Give a piece of sheet metal quick roll, or wipe I should say. Now I think what I'll do is I'll also get my profile gauge, and I'll take a quick profile of that, at least then I can see when I'm getting close, if you know what I mean. It's quite good because it basically spans the whole thing, apart from the edge, if you know what I mean. Apart from the last half an inch of that. Yeah. Right. So we know that's the shape we want. What shift is, because I can't see what the phone's doing. Slowly coming up. Slowly coming up. Hopefully the next one doesn't take as long. So I'll just check the time. Righty, so I'm pretty close now. I think it's about as close as I'm going to run with it, if you know what I mean. So what I did is I actually went back after I rolled it quite aggressively a few times with those slightly heavier curved wheels. I just dropped the pressure back off, went back to the first flattest one, and just run it through there without any side pressure, and just made it nice and smooth and flat again. And it's pretty good. Like, it's a little bit of clearance underneath there. It's not quite full enough on the outside edges, but I think it's close enough to run with, if you know what I mean. I could chase a little bit more out here. We'll see. But I think it's, I don't know, like without, you know, we're trying to get it very close. I think it's good enough, you know what I mean? Like, it's not far enough away to worry about with the fuel tank with being 100% dead accurate, and by the time we hammer it over, it's going to probably alter the shape of it a little bit anyway. So I think that's good enough there now, and then we can get the other one the same, which I'll do after lunch. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's come out quite nice. We've got quite aggressive with it. Put quite a bit of pressure on it, run around it, I run round the outside a few times, sort of walk backwards and forwards to trying to get it to, and then went back through the centre a few times, and then when I sort of had it really close, but it was sort of a wee bit funny shaped, like it had a bit of flex in it, and I'll drop back to that almost flat roller and just run it through it, and just keep turning it. You know, just keep run it through and just run it through and run it through, and just try to keep the clock just going slowly. And just keep running it through and through and through and through without no pressure on it, and just to try and smooth it out, and it's pretty good. I don't think many people would know getting in there. I think probably what it's for is to take the, I don't know, it's probably just to give it strength, I guess. It's a little bit domed. Might give it a touch more capacity. Not that there's going to be a lot. I don't know. I'm guessing it's probably about, it'll be about 40 odd litres, I guess. This fuel tank, which would be, what's that? I don't know. Not a lot. 3.7, it's almost 3.8 litres per gallon. So was that what, 4? Oh God, I'd have to work it out. But it's not a huge capacity. So like I mentioned, it's probably going to do, I don't know, maybe 100 miles on the tank. Somewhere around about there. I couldn't imagine it doing a lot more than that. So yeah, if he does do the Paris to Peking, it's going to be a few stops. So yeah, anyway, we'll carry on and we'll see you after lunch. Before I run away for lunch, we're going to have one more go at this. Oh yes. Yes, yes, yes. Perfect. Just going to get it off there now. But it worked. Didn't cut it. Excellent. Sweet. 4th time lucky. Got it. Took the edges off. Whatever, and yeah. 4th one. Awesome. Righty guys, so at lunchtime I started watching, what's his name, Carl Fisher from Make It Kustom, Japan Kustoms, and he was in the middle of, I'll watch the rest of it when I get home, but he was in the middle of making a battery tray, hammer forming and press forming, and it's not something I thought of too, but it makes sense now, is use a wee bit of lube, like even just some CRC or WD-40 or something on the steel so it can slip when it's being pushed into the form. So that's something else I'm going to do, and it's probably not going to make much difference now, but I've still got probably got 4 to make still, proper ones, because I still want to work out a way of cutting this window in these. So whether I do it in 2 steps, I'm not sure. So whether I use this form to push it in and then make another one like this with another piece on it that will actually cut the window. So I have this still in the form. So I have that still in there. But use this one here just to push it in, and then make another one, so while that's in there, that does the same thing, but it cuts the centre out. So we'll have to cut a hole in here, or machine a hole in here, and then file it out. I was thinking of maybe using the mill, like drawing a hole in it, and then using one of the small milling bits and working out how big a window I need in there, and then making a die that is tapered, so it will cut one end first, and then push through and cut one end first, and then come through. So it's got a really nice sharp edge on it. I'll leave the sharp edge there, and I'll try and do something similar with another piece. It'll push through and cut it off. It was kind of a plan, so I'll make it a 2-step thing. And then obviously the excess I'll just grind off, cut off, and then it'll be hammer over and whatever. You know, that can be cut off or ground off and smoothed back and everything when it's all finished and cut and formed. So that's kind of my plan at the moment. So I'm just thinking with that. I'm going to go back to making this fuel tank stuff, but it was quite a handy video. It popped up just before lunch and I thought perfect timing. I watched this and yeah, it was like there was these 2 or 3 little tips in amongst it. I sort of finished watching it. But he basically said he was making this battery tray because it was a good way to show hammer forming and press forming. Yeah, and he'd done some press forming for some other bits and pieces, and somebody said to him, yeah, use some CRC or WD-40, just help lubricate that steel so it'll slip in and slide and do whatever you want it to do. You know? So I think if I use the mill to cut a window in there, and then I might have to file out that last little piece into the corners, which is going to be pain, but it's worth doing. And then make another little die that I can make another one of these with another piece on top of it, or yeah, if I can find another thick piece of steel, I can make it like that and then mill round it again at a slightly deeper, that's the right size for that window, and test fit it, and obviously want it so it will come down and then just slice through that piece. So that's kind of a plan. And just put a slight angle on it so it cuts from one end to the other, like a guillotine would, or a pair of tin snips would, or whatever, you know, so it's slicing like that. But anyway, I'm going to carry on making this fuel tank stuff because it's kind of slightly more important at the moment, so we can get that tank into the local guy to put in his pile, so when he's going through everything, when he gets that, he can just do it, because there's about a 3-month wait on that too. So the sooner we can get in, the more likely we are to be slightly less down the line, if you know what I mean. So I'm trying to get that stuff sorted, but just things play in your head here, eh? So I just thought I'd run that by you. So I'm going to carry on with this fuel tank stuff. I was going to bring the missus down, but I won't panic. I can do that stuff. It's going to take me a couple of days to get this stuff sorted, today and tomorrow probably. So yeah, I'll carry on, get that other end rolled, and then we can attack those bead rolls for the strengthening for the baffles, and then I'll work on planning out the holes from the tank